Testing, audio, visual. In 5, 4,
What are you
3.
doing? Okay, I'll start. Hi, I'm Julian. This is Tom.
I'm Tom.
What we're planning on doing is just going through the episodes of a TV show called Ted Lasso, which is a show that I really love, and Tom is learning to love.
I'm experiencing it as a newbie. So I've only seen this first episode, and I'll be watching them episodically. Julian has seen all of them.
I've seen the first season, because the second season has not come out yet. I've seen it a couple of times, and I have been making the case to Tom as to why the show is important. The nice thing about Tom is, unlike most Americans, he's a soccer fan. So
Yes, I'm a football fan.
football. Well, I like football too. I think we're talking about different sports.
Different
though.
sports, but yes, same affinity.
So we will be going through the show that I love, that I think is important. Tom will be experiencing it for the first time, and we're just going to go through it. Tom and I have not known each other for very long.
Nope.
So
Been on Craigslist.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't tell people that. I was going to go with airport bathroom. But that was probably worse.
Nope, that's better. We're going to keep that one.
Okay. So if you have not seen the TV show Ted Lasso, I would probably not listen to us. Or
I would stop right now. Either leave us be and just let us
Sure.
go in the ether of the internet,
Yeah.
or go ahead and watch the first episode and enjoy it with us.
watch the first episode. There may be spoilers about other episodes. I'm going to try and keep that to a minimum.
I would hope so.
Mainly just hint at things. Before you leave, if you haven't watched
Left or if you haven't left already.
haven't left already, do all the things you're supposed to do. Like
Wait, are we giving our audience homework in the first episode?
yeah, like, well, no. Before they leave, they're supposed to like follow and subscribe and and put us. No. They're supposed to put us in their MySpace friends.
You got to smash that like button.
You get
That's what I see the videos say.
you get 8 MySpace friends. We would like
If we
to
can
be.
get 8 listeners.
No. You would get top 8 MySpace friends. We would like to be one of those 8.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Okay.
Preferably the top right.
And
top
we'd
right
like to be your pure volume landing page song.
Yep.
Okay.
And then we're going to record a song later, which you can also play when somebody goes to your MySpace page.
That's perfect.
Yep.
So Ted Lasso, a TV show that is on Apple TV. If you don't know where to find it, go to Apple TV and watch it there. It was, essentially a TV show that came out of a commercial campaign for when NBC got the soccer rights for
Yes.
a soccer league that is called...
The Premier League out of England, the English Premier League. I believe the initial videos, and again, probably should have done some homework, were Ted Lasso as the coach of the Tottenham Hotspurs. Which sounds right to you, since you did more of the research than I did?
So that name doesn't sound like it's a real name.
It is. Tottenham Hotspurs are one of kind of the big 4 or 5 teams out of England. You got Chelsea, Man U, Liverpool, Man City, Tottenham. I'd say those are your top 5. So you're learning stuff already about the beautiful game of football.
Oh, okay. I played it in grade school.
In grade school.
I was quite good. I was...
That's debatable.
I had...
We'll record videos of us later playing, and then we'll let our audience determine.
I'm pretty sure I had trophies. So the TV show itself, it is a soccer-based TV show, but it's really not about soccer.
No.
The reason I love the show so much, and the reason I try and push the show on other people, it is one of those shows I try and push on other people, is I think it is unique in terms of not only is it very funny, but I think it is important from like a life perspective standpoint. Not to go too deep, but Ted Lasso is a character. I'm a very cynical person. Tom, you don't know this. We just met in the airport bathroom. But I'm a very cynical and like negative person. And Ted Lasso as a character, for those of you that have watched the show, for those of you that haven't, I don't know why you're still here. Ted Lasso is an incredibly positive, looks for the good in people, forgiving, and he's so he's so not nice, but he's so kind of giving and cares for people, but in a way that doesn't make him seem naive or dumb.
Correct. I think he is very much an optimist, like you said, sees the good in people, and regardless of how they treat him, he always has the mindset, I'm going to treat them like the golden rule. Treat others the way you want to be treated.
Sure.
Doesn't get treated like that, especially in this first episode.
Sure.
But yeah, has a great positive outlook, and Jason Sudeikis, who plays Ted Lasso, is just a great comedic actor and plays that role incredibly well, which is why you can understand why these 10-minute YouTube videos became a big show.
Yeah, became and very well received, it sounds like.
Incredibly.
I think the probably limiting thing is it's on Apple TV, which just I don't think a lot of people have.
No.
But when Apple comes at us with a sponsorship,
sweet sponsor money,
we'll be able to probably watch season 2. The other thing we should mention is, so Jason Sudeikis is the star. Most people know him from SNL. The guy that helped create it and write it is Bill Lawrence. Bill Lawrence also, I mean, he did a ton of shows, but the one I know him best from is Scrubs.
Another show you tried to have me watch, which, again, watched first
Sure.
season. I think maybe first or second season. Good show. Again, good mix of comedy and heart. I think Bill Lawrence does a really good job of kind of melding the two.
Definitely. So this show, I think, very important. For me personally, it is a show that, like, I will think, what would Ted Lasso do sometimes? It's that silly. Like, I'll be like, if I'm gonna go negative, or if I'm gonna be critical about something, or if I'm gonna be cynical, if I'm gonna like kind of expect the worst out of someone, I think about Ted Lasso more than I should. There's probably other figures in history in the world that I should go to, like from a moral compass standpoint. But I was telling Tom. In the middle of a Grand Canyon hike, it was like the second day, we were pretty exhausted. I started pitching this show to my dad, who was tired, and I was thinking of Ted Lasso, the coach, and what he would do. So the show is stuck with me. So what we're going to do is run through the first episode, talk about some of the stuff we liked. I didn't dislike anything. So
I got plenty of dislikes. So.
Okay, well, that's why I've watched the show several times, and Tom is coming into it new. So pilot episode, once again, Bill Lawrence, Jason Sudeikis, opens up with us learning about the situation with the team. We meet some characters. We find out the owner of the team is Rebecca Higgins. And then she has her right-hand man, Higgins. And the show opens up...
Wait a minute. I got a question already.
What?
You're saying her name is Rebecca Higgins?
I've misspoke. Her name is Rebecca Welton? Yeah. Welton, that's what
I
it
was
is.
confused, because like, wait a minute. If they're the ones that are married,
Sure.
and they broke up, yet they still have this very...
Right.
Sam and Diane type relationship.
No.
Okay, no.
Everyone in this show is last name some version of Higgins.
Okay.
So it's Rebecca Welton, thank you.
Welcome.
The owner of the show. We open with Higgins, her right-hand man. And this is us learning that she has inherited the team through a divorce.
Great use of like camera work and stuff to be able to tell that story like that,
Sure.
where they just pan to the newspaper, kind of says, I don't know exactly what the quote were, but like he gets the money, she gets the team, or something
Right.
like that. Just very well put together.
And she's going through the office picking art off the walls and sending it to auction, and we're finding out this is very expensive art, establishing that she has been part of wealth, and Higgins is kind of the guy that gets run over, right-hand man, just doing her bidding. And then we get to meet the manager of the soccer team.
Okay, hey, good use of manager already, not saying coach.
And I just want to explain to people, a manager for a soccer team, otherwise known as a football team. Wait, a coach of a soccer team, I'll get through this. A coach of a soccer team, when it's a football team, is called a manager. Not American football, but rest of the world football.
And if they also own a banana stand, they're called Mr. Manager.
Right.
It's a deep cut for...
We just say manager.
We just say manager.
We just say manager. So we get this old dude with long white shaggy hair and short shorts. He comes in at Rebecca's bidding. she sits him down, and she fires him.
In very dramatic fashion.
Very
Fantastic.
dramatic. Actually, I feel like she does it pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Like, you know when you deliver bad news? Like, hey, so-and-so died, or you're fired, or, hey, let's do a podcast. You just got to rip off the bandage.
Exactly.
And she does that with him. And what's so funny is during that interaction, he's asking why he's fired. And she says, I don't know, maybe it's the subtle misogyny or something like that. And she goes, I know it's a big word, ask one of your daughters, which is just a great line from her. And then she says, you insist on wearing those shorts that allow me to see.
Why does she give the testicles names?
So,
did she give the testicles names? Did he have the names of the testicles and provide them to her?
I don't know. I just know that she calls them Liam and Noah.
So it's an Oasis reference, which is British band?
Okay, so good for you. I had to do a deep dive
Okay.
on these testicles. Liam and Noah, I believe, are the two brothers that fronted the band Oasis.
Okay.
And they broke up. And so that is a very British joke.
Okay.
Because I think I know one Oasis song, and I didn't know the names of either of the people.
Apologies to all you Oasis heads, as I believe they're called.
Most of the people that are going to like what we're doing here probably love Oasis.
We're going to have a big, English audience to this pod. So.
Sure. I hope so. So we get done with...
Hold up. You never answered my question. How did they get... she says the names of the two testicles. She gives them both the names. Why does she give them names?
My assumption is at some point he was like...
Are these guys bald? Are the Oasis guys bald with little tiny bits of hair? That kind of makes her think of that? Do we not want to go there?
I don't know that I want to go down the road you're taking us.
That's fair. That's fair.
My assumption is that he names them and talks about them all the time.
Okay, that's fair.
Or she's just clever and funny, which she is, so maybe she just comes up with it.
Okay.
She then introduces the fact that she already hired a replacement, and his name is Ted Lasso. And that brings in our signature guy, Ted Lasso, who actually the show is named after. I don't know if you knew that.
It is. So, little fast fact for you.
Yeah. Played by Jason Sudeikis. And they introduce him in a really cool way. How do they introduce Ted Lasso?
They introduce him through... I know you know the name. Who's the SportsCenter guy? Scott Van Pelt, which I don't really watch a whole lot of SportsCenter. He was always kind of like the SportsCenter front man, but now he kind of has his own show, his own gig. So again, fantastic way to introduce the character. Kind of showing all of his previous coaching through Wichita State, which is what AA college football, and I guess gained the fame from him doing some kind of viral dance.
Yeah,
I do think at a certain point we need to record ourselves doing that dance, but that is for later pods.
I pulled a muscle thinking about that idea. We find out that this Ted Lasso is a American football coach at a not top tier school, but a lower level Wichita State. And in one season took him to the championship. And so now he's being sent to Europe to manage a football club.
Crushing it.
I've got this. I'm so international.
Did you know that's what FC stands for? Richmond FC? Football club.
Yeah, I'm sure I knew that.
Blew your mind.
Deep recesses of my mind. I didn't give it a lot of thought.
Listen, everybody's learning stuff tonight.
Yeah, no, it's great. We are learning a lot of things. And then it opens us up to, we're on the plane with Ted Lasso and Coach Beard.
Beard's my favorite. I love me some Coach Beard.
So Coach Beard is played by Brendan Hunt. Do you know him from anything else?
I don't. He is not a recognizable character to me.
So the only thing I knew him from, and I could recognize him from, is the episode of Community. He plays the homeless guy that Britta and Shirley pick up, who turns out to be a crazy person who thinks he's Jesus. That's the same actor.
Oh, I'm going to go back and watch that now.
I believe he was in the original commercials with Jason Sudeikis, and that's why they brought him back.
Probably fair.
What's so great about this is very quickly, just solid writing in the show, we kind of find out who these two guys are through their interaction on the plane. Mm-hmm. Jason Sudeikis is reading a Jack Kerouac book, and Coach Beard is reading
Football for Dummies, or
Well, no, it's like
he has Football for Dummies like on his lap, but he's reading something else, like the Triangles of Success.
The Triangles, which is like a soccer book, and Lasso makes a comment that he's a sponge, that he's reading another soccer book, whereas Jack Kerouac is like a hippie writer who just wrote Stream of Consciousness.
Okay.
I know we've talked about this before. I still didn't do any research on Jack Kerouac. I just know the name. I've never read anything by him. I'm sure he's great. And so we find out very quickly, like, one is kind of the Jack Kerouac, I guess, reading for pleasure, just for reading for experience, and then Coach Beard is learning from like a technical standpoint.
Yeah, you've got the emotion, the heart, and then you've got the technical, the know-how.
Right. And then they make a joke. I always wonder, is it an Inception joke? He says something, they're both about to fall asleep because the cabin lights are dimming. Yeah. They're flying to Europe from, I don't know, Kansas, I guess, Kansas City. Or I guess it would be Wichita, not Kansas City.
Yeah. I don't think Kansas City or Wichita would fly direct. They might need to go to like maybe Fort Worth or New York first. But
what other cities with major airports can we name during this time? Let's not do that.
Okay.
So he makes a comment, which is a very funny exchange about, hey, if we meet each other in our dreams, let's act like strangers. Or like, let's pretend we don't know each other.
It's like, all right, stranger. It's a great line.
It's a great line. Is that do they talk Into Touch?
Yes, this is where the Into Touch starts.
Okay, explain, Tom. Yep. Explain, our resident football expert.
Yeah, this is admittedly a phrase I don't hear often. Into Touch, obviously being a pseudonym in football for out of bounds. So obviously, Coach Beard.
None of this is obvious, by the way. You've said obvious a couple of times. None of this is obvious to any of us.
Well, okay, that's fair. But yeah, Coach Beard, reading his book, tells him about the Into Touch, which is football for the ball going out of bounds. So obviously Ted Lasso, no understanding of this, but kind of uses it in that context later in the episode, which I think is probably the best joke in the episode.
Does he make the bet then?
I believe so. I believe he says at that point, if I can use Into Touch by the end of the day or whatever.
In a sentence, you owe me $5, which is just, again, it shows kind of the relationship between the two of them, like how close they are. They like the cheesy stuff they pick up on, like the silly stuff they pick up on. So one of the questions I have going through the seasons and the next seasons is, how long have these guys been together? Like, what's that relationship? How has it grown?
Yeah, will they do backstory on the characters and kind of how they came to be and met? Because there's certainly a perfect dynamic from like a coaching standpoint.
Got it. The other thing that I think is important during the airport is he looks at his phone and he's clearly got a son and wife not on the plane with him. He's left them behind to travel.
And I'll say this too, and I think again why this show hits me very well. I mean, obviously I've only seen the first episode, but I think it's written extremely well. But a lot of good television to me, it shows, it doesn't tell.
Sure.
So they don't just tell you all the things that are happening. So the newspaper in the beginning of the show that kind of shows the new or the previous owner being sacked and her taking over, the pictures on the phone, all that subtle stuff to me is just so much more impactful as opposed to, you know, actors staring at the screen and just telling you what's going on.
Right. Beard doesn't go, hey, I bet you miss your wife and son right now,
Exactly, yeah.
And then, like, stares at the camera.
Exactly.
So they arrive at the airport. Quick scene. Once again, just establishing, like, character of these guys. There's a taxi driver there. They learn his name. Like, they ask him his name. They kind of chat with him. He offers to take their bags. They decline.
We packed him, we'll carry him.
They packed him, we carry him. One of the things I enjoy is Ted tells Beard he didn't sleep at all. He's like, I was trying to sleep. They dim the lights. Next thing I know, they're handing out warm chocolate chips and we're landing. And Coach Beard goes, I didn't get a chocolate chip. And Ted Lasso goes, that's not part of the story. He goes, did you eat my chocolate chip? Ted goes, that's not part of the story. Like, clearly he's stolen Beard's chocolate chip cookie. And so they make their transition to the clubhouse.
They do a quick stop to the tower bridge.
The London Bridge.
Yes, of course. Which is, again, it's a great little thing. But yeah, then they get to the clubhouse.
The clubhouse, and they go on to, And you can tell it's kind of an interesting moment for Ted Lasso, because he enters and he is looking out over the green, like all the grass and just the way the music is, the way it's shot. You can just kind of tell this guy, I don't know how to, say it other than he loves like a playing field. He loves where like competition or sports happens. Yep. So they walk down and they walk onto the field, which is not called the field. It's called
the pitch.
The pitch. Okay. And this is where Tom is going to give us the origin of the term pitch.
Well, pitch originally originated back in 1942 in baseball. That's not any accurate statement. But
any idea why it's called the pitch?
I don't know.
Should we have looked up that word before I started asking you these questions?
Nah, nobody probably cares.
Well, I assume it all comes back to American baseball because
That's where I was going. Assuming the audience cares, or they equate pitch to a baseball pitch. Yeah, I don't know. We'll look it up. We'll figure it out at some point.
So he walks out on the grass. He's feeling the grass. It's like a religious moment for him. And all of a sudden, a character from across the stadium is running in, screaming at them, waving them off, saying, "Get off the pitch, get off the pitch." And this is where we meet Nate, or Nathan.
Does he go by Nate or Nathan?
I think they call him Nate.
I think they do. I don't know what he introduces himself as, but I feel like
Maybe he says Nathan and he says Nate.
Then he becomes... Oh, I think that's right.
Because he makes a comment about the hot dogs. Oh, do you have Nathan's hot dogs out here? And he doesn't get the joke because they don't have Nathan's hot dogs out there. But interesting, once again, interaction with Nate and them is they like learn his name, genuinely care about like who he is, and you can just tell like Nate, whose job is
he's the equipment manager.
Do you know what it's called?
Is it different?
Yeah, it is.
Oh, okay. Maybe you know this, but I don't.
You know what? I think I can't win them all. All
right, fair.
He's called a kit man.
Really?
The kit man.
Well, kit. Do you know what kits are?
I know. I've put together kits. I've put together model kits. It's K-I-T. Kit.
K-I-T.
Yes, I know what a kit is.
Okay, but what is the kit in soccer terminology? This is great because you thought you had this on me, and you're immediately losing all credit.
Okay. A kit is a cat that you're mad at.
No, kits are their jerseys. So their uniforms is a kit.
Oh.
So you got your away kit, your home kit, like that's kind of that. So he's an equipment manager. He kind of handles all their kits and probably
he's
obviously
a kit man. So but like are cleats, shin guards, are those included in a kit, or is it just the jersey?
So. Yeah, he's going to be like as an equipment manager. You see his role at the thing later on when they're actually in. I guess it's the clubhouse, you would call it, where all the players are kind of coming in. They're throwing their jerseys and stuff, which I hate personally because I think like a person like that does so much work. I know this is a comedy and all that kind of stuff, but a person that does so much work for the team kind of outside of the spotlight, and these guys are treating them like just complete garbage and throwing their jerseys on them and all that stuff, when I think in a lot of modern sports locker rooms, or at least I would hope, people treat those guys a lot better.
Yeah, that's where you get the sense when they meet Nate and he's like surprised at, they want to know his name, they want to know about him, and they always do this funny thing where they ask him a question and it's like he's not expecting to have to answer it. Yeah, me. And then they just like stare at him waiting like, to answer simple things like how are you, like what's your name, what do you do here, that sort of thing. So Nate ends up taking them up to meet Rebecca and Higgins. Not Rebecca Higgins, Rebecca and Higgins.
Very good.
And they are meeting for the first time in the office. And that is where we get hot brown water.
Yeah, great joke on that one. I think the preface of it is, he's obviously still very jet lagged because he didn't get to sleep on the plane. So he asked her for something kind of caffeinated, cappuccino, mochaccino, really anything coffee related. I think he makes a joke too about it not tasting like coffee. So
he's like, I'd like something caffeinated, any coffee related, but doesn't taste like coffee, which is how some of us take our coffee.
Yes. And then of course she immediately says, "How do you like your tea?" And then I believe his line is, "Well, I don't know. Do you have the details? I want to.
No. You kill it.
I'll kill it. So ultimately, it's the. How'd you like your tea? Generally, see, now I'm going to butcher it. Something about sending it back because it's garbage.
He's like, generally I don't. I send it right back because someone's made a terrible mistake.
Yes.
It's something along those lines.
And then proceeds to taste it to see if he likes it. Says it tastes then like garbage water.
Yeah, hot garbage water. Hot brown water. He goes, I always thought tea would taste like hot brown water. I was right. Sure. No, thank you. And he
very politely puts it down.
Very politely puts it down. It's Rebecca and Ted at this point because Higgins has gone with Coach Beard to go get some things. And one of the things they say, Ted goes, don't forget about the humidifiers. And Beard finishes his sentence. And I was why are humidifiers so important in these people's lives? The only humidifier experience I've ever had is with a congested cat, which is probably not medical doctors. This is not medical advice. And nosebleeds when I was a kid because it's so dry out here. We would put a humidifier in a room.
But it's notoriously not dry in London. I mean, where it's all set because it just rains constantly there. So I wouldn't imagine a humidifier is something you need. So maybe that's part of the joke as well.
Okay, so it's humid there.
I would assume so if it rains all the damn time.
Right, and they're right on a river, so that probably adds to it. Yeah, that's what it's called. Yeah, that's right. Then they go on the tour. After he doesn't like his tea, they go on the tour. She is kind of explaining the club history. And once again, very well done, looking at pictures on the wall. And Ted just happens to point at one and says, hey, I really like this guy. What's his deal? And it turns out it's the former owner, Rebecca's ex-husband, and he's surrounded by models in the trophy. Mm-hmm. So she lets him know, well, that's my ex. And great moment. Obviously he's made a faux pas. He's put his foot in his mouth by making a comment. But then he says, very genuinely, he asks her, oh, I heard about that. Mm-hmm. I heard about the scandal. I heard about you got cheated on. He doesn't say it in those words, but it's, hey, I heard about that. How are you holding up? I think she's kind of taken aback. Mm-hmm. And what I'm realizing right now is we never said in the very beginning, in that first conversation with Higgins and her, how she, or is it in this moment where she explains that she only hired him to mess up?
That's after the upcoming press conference, I believe. And while they're sitting outside in front of the cars, she had mentioned I hired Lasso to burn this team down. Or no, it is after the conference room scene, which is coming up. So Ted Lasso does the press conference. He comes out. He leaves with Coach Beard, and then he talks to Higgins.
So I've jumped the gun. For some reason, I thought it got brought up in that first conversation with her and Higgins. But you're right. It's after the press conference. It's implied somewhere.
I think it's implied with kind of that character, how ruthless and how that relationship kind of was, how she kind of treats Higgins. It doesn't seem like she's
cares about them.
in it to win it, if you will, for this club.
Right. And so after he asks her how she's doing, she says, hey, the press interested in meeting you. He makes a comment about, after a couple of days I'll be ready. She's like, well, they're here. It forces him into the conference room. And you have this really cool, well done kind of 3 storylines going where it has him in the conference room caught off guard, and then you have the people watching the press conference.
Yep.
And so it's the 3 guys in the
pub.
Not a bar, but a pub. That one's pretty common. We have pubs out here.
I don't get any internet points for that one?
No. Yeah, that one. No one learned that a pub and a bar are the same thing today. And then the other is the players, the actual players, watching from the locker room.
And that's the first real introduction. There was kind of some B-roll of the players kind of on the pitch, kind of training and stuff, but that's the first time you actually kind of see some of that character development.
Right. So the team that Lasso is there to coach, you see these guys watching the press conference, and the scene cuts in between those. It's very cool. You get to see the diehard fans in the pub call him names because immediately the press is asking this lower tier football coach, American football coach, what he knows about soccer or football. And you just get some great moments. Does he take the water in the beginning?
I think the very first thing he does is when he sits down, tries the water, he's like, oh, didn't realize that was bubbly, and shoots it all over the place.
They give him sparkling water. it's a funny gag which runs through the episode a couple of different times.
And we had talked about this because I don't really like. You look at that water in the scene, like it's not really bubbly. It's not. Is it carbonated? I don't know. I guess I don't know what fizzy water is or what it.
So it's like it's like the fancy stuff people order when they're fancy. It's like Pierre. It's carbonated water.
Okay.
And not to get fancy on you,
please.
But
very
I once traveled abroad,
Ooh.
and they do kind of give you fizzy water, and then they charge you for it. Whereas here in the U.S. of A., you go to a restaurant, you just get water with ice. Overseas in Europe, we would never get a non-carbonated. We would have to ask specifically for it, and we'd have to ask for ice in it, and I'm sure they all hated us.
Generally.
But, fizzy water. So, they ask him questions. We get some great reporters. Trent Krim from The Independent.
Yeah, great reporter.
Great hair. Great.
Oh, man.
What's so funny is Trent stands up. He identifies himself, and Ted goes, "Hey man, love your glasses." And Trent takes them off, looks at them, and puts them away, as if Ted complimenting him was either him realizing, "Hey, these glasses suck," and he put them away, like he didn't like the compliment, or that's kind of how I took it. He was like, "Oh, this dumb guy that's taken over our football club likes my glasses, so these glasses must be crap."
Yep.
Is that how you took that joke?
I think so, yeah, because again, he's assuming a cynical reporter, kind of the way he is. I don't think he takes any of those kind of compliments kindly, or is used to getting them when he's interviewing or asking
That
questions.
was the other thing. I wasn't sure if he's surprised by the compliment. Because he follows up that receiving that compliment, and maybe he's caught off guard because he knows what his question is. Because his question is, and he prefaces it with, "You've only coached at an amateur level, like a sub-amateur level. You've never coached soccer. You've never been overseas," or something along those lines. And then he says, "Is this a bleeping joke?"
Mm-hmm.
Which in itself is an offensive question. I don't think it's far off. And that's funny is it cuts to people in the pub, and the pub guy goes,
"Thank you."
Yeah, he's like, "I love the press," which no one has ever said. Ever.
Notoriously, the firms or supporters for these teams hate the press. Like they hate journalism, they hate all that kind of stuff because they feel they're always, kind of crapping on their teams.
Sure.
So for them to in that first episode, yes, we love journalists, was just great.
And then we roll into a montage of quick fire questions at Lasso, and you can just tell he's caught off guard. He does do the bit or the joke where he says, "No matter what, win or lose," and then someone in the crowd goes, "Or tie," and he's like, "Oh, that's right, you guys do ties out here." And then he says something like, "No, 4 quarters," and they're like,
"Halves,
2 halves." Yeah. He's like, "Oh," and so it's just clear he has not done the research, but he's a people coach. He's not a. And that's what we find out as we go through the episode. For him, it's more important for the players themselves, for him to have that connection. And then he gets saved from all the reporters screaming at him by Rebecca, who steps in.
Yep.
And she brings up a really great point. One of the better jokes of the episode. As you were saying, Rebecca comes in and saves him at the press conference, which leads to one of the funnier moments of the episode.
Yeah, I love when she comes in because she just throws it out there. She's thinking what everybody's thinking in the room about the team's been mediocre. They've been mediocre for a long time. They haven't won any tournaments, any sort of major hardware trophies. Call them hardware.
They call them hardware over there?
Hardware, yeah.
Are you being for real right now?
Yeah, call them hardware.
I'm going to look that up.
You can get a lot of different, but they haven't been successful, and then she kind of lays the cards on the table, just kind of saying, this press room has never been as full as it is now, which almost makes me think I don't know, from her character's perspective, is she playing this like I'm putting Ted Lasso in because maybe the team's going to fail, but maybe this is going to be brilliant because I'm getting a lot of press for this. I can make something out of this. Is it just to be a dog and pony show, or is there something more behind her intentions? I don't know yet. But yeah, then she comes in and she talks about the mediocrity. But one of my favorite little parts is where she's just being so sternly serious. and of
A
course
reporter
I'm blanking
mutters.
out. Yeah, a reporter mutters like, she says we've been terrible for a long time,
And he's
Is
like
it
we
true?"
haven't been that. It hasn't been that bad,
Yeah.
or something like that.
And then God, now again, this is terrible for the pod. I can't remember what the word was. What did she say? She's like, "Isn't that true?" Or
Am I wrong? She's
am
like,
I wrong?
Am I wrong?
There it is. There's like, "Am I wrong?" And she's like, "Well, that's not that." And just stares at him. Am I wrong? And the expression on
Yeah,
this
that
reporter's
reporter's
face of the just dejection. He's just like,
He's like, no.
"No."
Yeah.
This is great. I love it.
So you get the sense that they've been a mediocre football club, like bringing in a coach like this because what has worked in the past has not worked. Like they haven't achieved any level of success, so why not try something different?
Yeah.
Which brings us to they walk out of the locker room. They send Ted. He doesn't. He ends the conference by spitting out more bubbles, right?
Yep. Oh yeah.
Oh, because he's
On
so
everybody's-
nervous, he's like
yeah.
sweating, and yeah. Oh, because his final line is, "Sorry, I spit all over your stuff."
Yeah.
as
All
he
the
leaves the
phones
press.
and recorders and all that stuff in front of it. Yeah, fantastic. Great exit.
So then they leave because Rebecca saves him. They're in the hallway, and then I think he asks if he could go introduce himself to the players. He leaves, and then we have this conversation between Higgins and Rebecca, and Higgins is like, "I like him," and you could tell he's just trying to kiss.
He's a yes man.
Yeah, he's a yes man for her. He's trying to tell her that she made a good decision by hiring him, and she immediately reveals he's a wanker. Which
Can
I'm
we
not
say
real-
wanker? Is
yeah,
that...
I think so.
Okay.
If my
wanker's fine.
kid walked around saying wanker, I would laugh so hard, and then he'd say it in front of his grandmother, and I'd get in trouble. But that's when it's revealed from Rebecca that she has hired Ted to fail because the only thing her ex-husband loved was the club, and he just spent all his time on it. So if she can drive it into the ground in order to hurt him, she'd do it.
Yep,
So,
you get her true intentions, and then she obviously has the very graphic discussion of what she wants to happen to her ex, and they got the GIF conversation. So it's brought up. I've got to ask you: is it GIF or is it GIF?
No, I think it's GIF. I think everyone can agree it's GIF. GIF sounds too much like a peanut butter.
Accurate.
And the joke, she wants to see him in pain. Like I think she describes it a splintered cricket bat.
It's a cricket bat.
Which is like a baseball bat.
Listen,
but for
you don't need. Okay, you're describing cricket bats. I would say don't go too far into what she wants to do with said cricket bat. I brought up a lot of testicle humor early on, and you didn't want me to go there. And I don't really want you to go into cricket bat areas.
That's fine. Penetration. Okay, so then we see the they go out and they watch practice, which isn't called practice, it's called
Training.
So they go out and they watch training.
Can't keep a gaffer from the pitch.
I'm 0 for 2 in that one, Coach. That's what he says.
I'm 0 for 2 in that sentence.
I'm 0 for 2 in that sentence. So he's trying to figure out what all this terminology means because he's done no research. And that's Ted Lasso that is trying to figure this out while Coach Beard is explaining most of it to him. They do this running gag where he asks a question, and I'm going to butcher this, so I shouldn't even go into it. But they ask a question trying to get like 3 similar words together. He's like, so if I'm a gaffer doing, like, playing cards on the practice field, you'd be a gaffer playing pitch on the pitch or something. They have this running joke that they do in multiple episodes where they ask those questions just to, like, hear the funny...
what it would be like into pitch being out of bounds.
Right.
And again, how Ted Lasso hears that as opposed to it just being a term for something specific. He just tries to literally take that term, insert it into something else that he knows, like throwing into pitch and out of bounds with that line. It was just great.
Right. So we are on the pitch, we're watching the soccer, and as I watch the soccer, I'm just thinking, man, they got all the best players in the world on this field. They're doing their soccer stuff. Everyone looks like an athlete. Just, I mean, as a soccer guy myself, it just looked like everything was going right on that field. But we're introduced to... Well, Tom, what do you think of the soccer being played on the field?
It's fine. It's passable. Like we said in the beginning, like this is not
It's
a
not a
show
soccer
about...
show, yeah.
it's not a show about soccer. I mean, some of the, shots they take, like the guy shoots it into the center of the goal and the goalie, like, kind of dives the other way, easily lets it go through. Or they kind of end it with a little bicycle kick, which, Ted Lasso has a great line from that one. about like, man, it looks like a kitty cat finding a cucumber, being surprised by a cucumber, which one of my favorite lines from that. And of course, I had to do a deep dive and look into that. Have you ever seen a video of a kitty cat and a cucumber?
No, I thought it was just like an alliteration is probably the wrong word, but just using like the word sounding similar. Yeah. I didn't realize it was anything more than that. It's more than that.
It's fantastic. It's literally cats sitting in front of their water bowl, their food bowl, whatever, and a person will just literally slowly put a cucumber behind said cat so they don't know it's there. The cats will turn around, see the cucumber, and just bounce 20 feet in the air. And for some reason, it scares the living daylights out of cats.
So they're not playing with the cucumber, they're being scared by the cucumber.
They just don't know the cucumber's there. They maybe think so I don't know where that cut out. But again, kitty cats, cucumbers, YouTube videos, go ahead and watch them. They're hilarious. So again, and I think what he's doing is, because that guy does a bicycle kick, so he kind of jumps in the air.
Oh yeah, what's that called? What's that called? Where you go upside down and you kick a ball?
It's a bicycle kick, or kind of like a half volley kind of thing. What he kind of did.
Doesn't have a cool name?
Yeah, bicycle kick is pretty cool, right?
Now I've never ridden a bicycle upside down.
It is an odd term. Is it
because your leg? Any
you
idea?
Call it like a scissor kick. You've heard it kind of potentially interchangeable. I'd more refer to it as like a half volley.
I've used scissors upside down, so that makes sense.
That's fair. But again, great. If you haven't gone down the YouTube rabbit hole of kitty cats and cucumbers, it's kind of odd if you haven't, due to kitty cats being 90% of the internet nowadays. We contemplated wearing kitty cat outfits doing this podcast, but we decided against it.
We decided just kitty cat undergarments.
Just undergarments.
We're introduced on the pitch.
This is why, by the way, this pod was supposed to, or VOD, maybe 20 minutes, half an hour podcast. We're 45 minutes in, and because of all the kitty cat cucumber talk. But I'm having a great time. I'm not putting a time frame on it, but this is pure internet gold. So I'm having a great time with what we're doing.
I thought I paid for a full hour.
Oh, wow. Okay, yep.
So while they're practicing on the pitch, we're introduced to a couple of the players,
yep,
which will become main characters.
Spoiler alert.
We have... I mean, it's a show. The people in it are characters on it.
These characters could have been killed off in episode 2. Now I know they're here with
the show is mostly a murder mystery, where Mare from Pants... Anyways... So we find the characters are Roy Kent. Your impressions of Roy Kent, played by a gentleman by the name of Brett Goldstein.
Yeah, I mean, he's the classic kind of like player coach kind of guy, where he's a veteran. He's kind of training the guys on there. You can kind of get a sense for him just kind of pushing the guys around and yelling at them that he realizes they've got a new coach. He's kind of stepping into that coach role.
He's definitely, you see him on the field, he's directing traffic, he seems a bit angry, and all this you're learning about these players through Nate and Coach Beard explaining them to Coach Lasso.
Yeah.
So what's funny is Beard knows these players, Nate knows the players because he's the kit man. Ted Lasso has no idea who any of these guys are.
Well, and Beard's terminology for Roy Kent is just great. Like, he's like a box-to-box midfielder.
Okay.
So kind of literally going, from one end of the
boxing.
pitch to the other.
Bad joke. Sorry, that was a terrible joke.
Goes from one end of the pitch to the other. So again, it's just funny to see that quick dynamic where, they're in the plane, they're going to England. Coach Beard's just reading books, but now he's immediately, not even 24 hours later or 12 hours later, I guess, he's pushing out the terms. He knows all about this guy.
Sure.
Knows he played for Chelsea, who was one of my favorite soccer teams in the Premier League. Kind of mentions that Chelsea won 8 years ago.
Tottenham and Chelsea play each other?
Yes, Tottenham.
Tottenham.
You sound weird if you call it Tottenham.
Tottenham.
Yeah, Tottenham.
And Nate makes a comment. He goes, he won a championship.
Champions League.
And then I think Beard says, yes, but doesn't Beard kind of shoot it down like 8 seasons ago or something?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you get the sense that Roy Kent is like a veteran kind of tail end of his.
Yep, absolutely. A Frank Lampard, if you will.
I'm going to let that one lie. If you guys have questions about that, leave it in the MySpace comments. Or direct.
No. They're good. MySpace comments is great.
Then I think they talk about Jamie Tart. Jamie Tart, young guy. I think it's kind of established even in that shot that he's a bit of a ball hog, and he, I think he does he do the bicycle kick? And then someone offers to help him up, and he slaps the hand away. It's something along those lines.
Yeah.
And they ask Nate. They go, "Oh, Jamie, what do you think of Jamie?" And Nate's only response is, "Well, he's really good at football." Yeah. And you can just get the sense that not a likable guy.
Yeah.
Super handsome. I think I'm allowed to call him handsome.
Yeah.
And he is played by Phil Dunster.
Oh man,
Any of
Dunsters.
Any of these guys so far? Have you ever seen him in anything else other than the players?
But I'd love to dive into that Dunster.
That's good. That's a great. And then the other one they talk about is Sam Obasanya. I almost got it.
Terrible.
And it's
Obasanya, is that what it is?
Yeah, that sounds right. And they establish he's from Nigeria.
Nigeria,
yeah, Nigeria. And then Ted Lasso's blown away that people from other countries play on this team.
I think it starts with them saying that who's the tart guy, the kind of like the young hothead. They say he's from is he from? Oh, he's got to be from England. He's like, no, he's from Wales. It's like, how many countries you got in this country?
4.
Yeah, it was great.
Four,
Nate and Beard both saying 4 at the same time.
Yeah, so most Americans that are listening to this are probably learning that there's 4 countries inside of.
Yeah. Can you name them?
Can I name them? Okay. Really? Wales, England. Can I say Ireland?
Sure. I don't know them, so. And then the bottom or the top right one.
Wessex. Northumbria, Wessex,
Northumbria.
Saxony. Wherever Uhtred's son is from.
Clearly, England is the last kingdom.
That's the show we're doing next. That's also a soccer show. This leads us from the pitch to the locker room, where Ted Lasso wants to introduce himself to the players. So players are coming in. We see them harassing the kit man Nate, just being kind of general bullies to him. And this is, once again, you're kind of building that Nate is a downtrodden guy that works hard, and they just kind of treat him like garbage.
Yep.
Jamie Tart, the star player, is wearing a tracksuit that I could only describe as if you ever had to cover a textbook and you bought the stickers that covered a textbook and they were just an outrageous pattern.
Aren't they floral print? I feel like it reminded me of my grandma's wallpaper.
Or a couch.
Yes. Nice jacket, who shot the couch is what the line should have been.
No, I like that. I would have laughed.
That's from Beverly Hills Ninja. That's the extent of my knowledge. Most of my comedy comes from 90s movies.
Sure. No, I'm with you. He has a hat on that says Icon, which I don't know if that's meant to be ironic or, I guess, based on the character and kind of how he's perceived. I don't know that it's irony. I think he's just...
He probably doesn't even know what it is.
Right. So Coach Lasso starts to address the team, and then we are introduced to Keely. Keely, attractive. She comes into the locker room. She interrupts his speech, and she's picking up Jamie Tart because she's Jamie Tart's girlfriend. Rather than stick around to hear the introduction of the speech, Jamie departs. And what I think is interesting during that shot is it flashes to Roy Kent, and you can kind of see his reaction to Ted letting Jamie leave. Rather than kind of putting Jamie in line and being like, hey, hang tight, I'd like to introduce myself, taking control, he lets Jamie essentially walk over him, although, I don't know, it's kind of a weird situation. So Jamie leaves, you see Roy Kent, who clearly is not a fan of Jamie, kind of disappointed in... At least that's what I got out of it. Did you get that same?
That's fair, because now you bring that up, I don't think I caught that, but I think that's a fair assessment, because as we know Ted Lasso's character, he is a sports guy. He knows, just watching one training session, he can see that Roy Kent is the clear leader, captain of that team. So he allows him to step up and stop him from leaving or address that conversation, as opposed to, Ted Lasso coming in saying, I'm the coach, and asserting his dominance. Like, he knows how to handle a locker room, is my assumption.
Yeah, and I think the other thing it does is you kind of see Roy Kent like in Ted Lasso's corner a bit, where he almost like wants him to control Jamie. Anyways, maybe I'm just reading too far in, but Roy Kent, I think the actor does a great job of kind of conveying these things.
Can we agree that chest hair on Roy Kent, just fantastic? Whereas with the other guy, the icon is going to get waxed.
Oh, yes, he's going to get waxed.
You got that dichotomy, really. You got the crafty veteran, the rookie, the hairy dude, the...
Classic. Most classic shows and movies, that is the dynamic.
One's got to be crazy hairy, and the other has to be...
Planet of the Apes, comes to mind.
Charlton Heston was pretty hairy in that movie.
Any movie with a Moses-type character. I think that's actually also Charlton Heston. I can only think of Charlton Heston movies right now.
Bruce Almighty.
Spartacus.
Evan Almighty.
Charlton Heston. The NRA leader, also Charlton. Anyways, so then Ted kind of finishes his introduction, and what I mean by this is like Roy being in his corner is the next interaction we have is these two guys, Coach Beard and Ted Lasso, are in their little office area adjacent to the locker room. Roy Kent walks by, and Ted says, "Hey," introduces himself one-on-one with Roy. Says, "Hey, you've had a great career. Looking forward to working with you." And then Roy just gives which is, once again, why I think this is so great, is I felt like Roy was going to be in his corner, and then Roy's comment to him is,
he just shoots him down. Yeah, I didn't think I'd have to spend the end of my career with Ronald F. McDonald.
Right. Just being coached by Ronald F. McDonald.
Literally calling it a clown show. I mean, it's rough. And I remember watching that scene and thinking, like, exactly that. Like, he starts off that you would assume he's going to be in his corner and just, boom, shoots him down.
Yeah, calls him a clown. Leaves the locker room, and Ted turns to Coach Beard and goes, "Are you going to let him call you that?" And Coach Beard is like, "I don't think he was talking to me." And just the exchange of those two, like Ted not wanting to prove less of a man, or just jokingly being like, "Oh, he insulted you."
Well, but
great.
In the rest of that conversation about how they're going to win him back and how much worse he's going to feel when you win him back, I got to imagine this is what brought you to the show, or why you love the show, because there's ways to react to a guy calling you a clown.
Sure.
And the way he reacts to it is just saying, like, I get it. I know where you're coming from, but I know where I'm coming from. I know what I'm going to do with you guys and with this team. Like, again, it's that mindset, which is tough. And to your point in the beginning, like, what would Ted Lasso do to be able to have that mindset more in your life? I think is a great thing.
Yeah, he doesn't get upset at being called a clown.
Yeah.
He throws a joke to Beard. "Hey, are you going to let him call you that?" And Beard's like, "I don't think he was talking to me." And then Beard says, "Just wait wait and see how mad he is when we win him over."
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about, is also they're establishing, like, they've done this before. Like, they've been in a hostile locker room where, like, maybe the team didn't like them. Maybe they thought they were folksy dudes from Kansas. Like, and so there's a confidence there that's so much fun of, hey, we're going to win these guys over.
Yeah.
Like, he's going to be pissed because he's going to like us eventually, which is just such a funny... rather than reacting on the offensive of being like, oh, we're going to, like, punish that guy. It's like, that guy's going to like us at some point.
Well, and it's fun, too, because I know you've seen the whole season, so you know if he truly has won him over. So I'm interested to see exactly how that relationship goes, and if they kind of go back to that bit and, reestablish, like, yeah, we did win him over, or, what else happens that...
Sure. Yeah, I won't tell you what happens, but it's pretty good.
Yep.
Then Keeley comes back as Coach Lasso is trying to hang... Oh, they do the montage where they're straightening up the office.
Yeah, that's great.
It's great. They look at each other, and it's like they can read each other's minds. Their desks that were facing away, they spin them around so they're staring at each other. They're putting up like the pyramid of coaching from like, I don't know, Bobby Knight. Maybe Bobby Knight's not the right guy. It's like throw chairs is the top of the pyramid.
It's like the Ron Swanson circle triangle of excellence.
They're putting up posters of like Ali and then he's going out and he's putting up a handwritten or like a hand-drawn poster that just says "Believe," and he's trying to tape it. And Keeley comes back to get Jamie's phone, and it's interesting because Ted is in Jamie's locker for some reason. I think he's just staring at the pictures on the wall. I don't even know why he's over there, but he looks into Jamie's locker, and there are these scantily clad pictures of women, which is just a classic Jamie move. And one of them is of Keeley, and he is...
They're not all of Keeley? I assume they were all of Keeley and different, because I don't think he would have multiple pictures of just random women.
Oh, I think he's the type of guy that would.
I don't disagree, but I also feel like as we get to know Keeley a little bit more, I think when you first get introduced to her, you think she's just kind of some bimbo model kind of thing, but you realize she's got a lot of depth in her character, the way she interacts with Ted, sees Ted, and what he does kind of with the picture, which I'm sure we'll get to. But I don't think she'd be game for him having all these pictures in there. We can go back and look, but I thought they were different modeling pictures of her.
I'll do a deep dive.
Okay.
I'll do a deep dive. I'll freeze frame it. I'll figure it out. But what we see is that Ted Lasso, there's clearly some nudity on this photo of Keeley, and he has taken the tape and he has put it over the northern regions.
Yes, her breasticles.
Ooh, that's twice you've used a testicle-adjacent term.
No, but I think that's what he was doing when she comes in. He saw the pictures from across the room. He had the tape in his hand. He wanted to put the tape over.
So he censored the
he wanted to censor the picture. And obviously her coming into the room, she startles him. He hits his head in the locker room. She, her immediate impression is like, this guy's getting his jollies off by looking at these pictures
Sure,
because she knows what's in there.
Makes him seem like a creep.
And then at the end of the scene when she kind of, or not even the end of the scene, I think she sees it
at that point,
quickly.
she looks into the locker. She sees that he's clearly taped over like her nudity, and you can tell she's I don't know, I guess she appreciates it. And so then she introduces herself to him, and she helps him put the poster up. She's trying to help him give directions on how it's level. She's like, oh, it looks great. She leaves the room. He walks into the office, camera pans back, and it's just beautiful. The sign could not be more crooked the other way than what it was.
And then she helps him kick it the other way.
So it just says believe up.
And what was the next scene, Julian?
So then we have them leaving at the end of the day. They're out in the parking lot. They apparently are getting a ride from Nate in his tiny car. They're squeezing everything into the car.
Which is a great premise, too, because, like, with Lasso and Coach Beard coming, like, the fact that they don't set them up with a car and, like, all that other stuff, like, it's odd, though, because, like, they eventually get to a nice flats and have other seemingly decent accommodations. They picked them up in a car. Why they didn't have a car to take them back is odd. But again, I think it's just an excuse to be able to kind of show Nate going to the Porsche, and then he's like, no, this is mine over here.
This is my car, this little green. It's like a Mr. Bean car.
Yeah, stuffing into, like, again, you got another clown reference. I'm stuffing in like a clown car kind of thing.
Putting all the suitcases in the boot.
Oh, wow. There's a term.
So, in the parking lot is also Rebecca and Higgins, who are getting in. She's getting into her Rolls Royce where the doors close automatically. Pretty sweet car.
Classy.
Ted could not be more thrilled to be in the small car. He does some joke about the horn being on the wrong side. What I love about that scene, having watched it a ton of times, is if you look at Beard in the back, he has a suitcase that is as big as him in front of his face on his lap, and he is just like smashed in the seat. And he's got to go through all of Ted Lasso's bit, like uncomfortable in the back seat, not complaining, just being Coach Beard. Then we have the conversation with Higgins and Rebecca where Higgins expresses he's like having indigestion because he feels so bad about them putting Ted Lasso in a position to fail. And Rebecca, makes the comment, hey, are you going to have trouble with doing like dishonest things? And she said, I find that surprising because you had no problem, sneaking women in to meet with my husband while we were out to lunch or something. So you can tell, like, just from that conversation, there's like a deep-seated resentment from her to Higgins, this kind of spineless, you think he's, the spineless guy, because he was her husband's right-hand man.
And it's interesting, too. I'm interested to see how the dynamic plays out, because if she really knows that, why does she keep him on? Why does she make him the director of football operations, kind of a thing?
She promotes him.
Yeah. And so more or less, more pay, better salary to kind of keep her mouth shut, kind of thing. And maybe that's why, because they have a rapport. She knows she can walk all over him and that he'll keep his mouth shut.
Well, I think part of it is she's torturing him at the same time. Like, she's running the club into the ground to get back at her husband. I think she thought that her and Higgins were legitimate friends back in the day, and she discovered that he was part of the deceit and the cheating. And so she essentially knows he's not going to find another job somewhere else. He's too spineless to quit, so she's just going to make his life uncomfortable.
That's fair.
So then they leave, and we see these guys walking through a really quaint kind of cobblestone alleyway, and they arrive at their flats. And what's very important about this moment is we did not bring up during the press conference.
We didn't probably say the exact line, but
the bet that they made on the plane to nothing will be into touch.
Nothing will be into touch.
So when he's talking to the press, he says, "My door is always open. Nothing will
be into touch," which is, again, he's trying to just take nothing will be
out of bounds.
Yeah, so just literally plug and play.
And he looks to Coach Beard on the side and gives him a wink because he knows he's used the phrase. So when they get to their flats, Coach Beard hands him a $5 bill. He goes, "What's this for?" He's like, into touch.
He just says into touch, and then goes back in.
So they go their separate ways too.
But before we go on to, again, I think that's just brilliant writing in terms of being able to, you have a setup in the beginning of the episode, you have it pay off in the middle, and then you have him, again, just touching it again on the end. So it hits all three main points of the episode.
And the whole time establishing the rapport between these two guys in terms of how close they are. They've got inside jokes, they've got habits. They're willing to give each other $5 on a bet. Incredible. What friends do that?
Millionaires.
It's a great just kind of rapport build. And and one of the things that I love about the show, it grows on you as it goes, is the relationship between those two. And I think there's in my life, you constantly see it. You see the guy that's kind of creative and the people person, and then the partner, whether or not it's a guy or a girl, on either end, that's more of the technical kind of steady, does the work, but does more of the technical hard work, and they complement each other very well.
One's kind of the rock and the other
right. One's maybe my mom does this when she meets married couples. She's like, "Oh, who's the dreamer and who's the grounded one?" Because she just assumes in every marriage those people
there's one person,
and so it forces that couple to be like, "Oh, well, he's fun and I'm not." That's what it is. So that's what I think about when it comes to Coach Beard. I think if my mom met Ted Lasso and Coach Beard, she'd be like, "Oh, you're the dreamer. And you're not the fun one."
I feel like I'm the Coach Beard of this relationship. Would you say? I mean, maybe it's too early on since we just met on.
Dude, we're both Lassos.
You think we're both
Lassos?
Lassos?
We're both Lassos.
Just brilliant timing. Although we started this podcast by stating that you want to be more like Ted Lasso. So do you feel like you're a Lasso enough now?
I feel like I've reached Lasso.
Wow.
I feel like
First episode, you've already lassoed.
Well, I mean, I've watched the whole show many times.
Okay.
And I've been to the evaluations at the Church of Lasso.
Church of Lasso Day Saints?
Yeah, and I have done the auditing.
There's auditing.
And there's auditing. I paid the money. I got audited. I've reached Lasso level It's like 06 is the top.
Okay.
Lasso 07 is after you kill 3 people.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Took a dark turn.
It's a Bond reference. They're in their flats. End of the episode, we get like some soft piano or soft guitar. Yeah. And this is what Bill Lawrence does so well. Is it's been a comedy. It's been fun. And then you see Ted as he's walking around his flat. He's got like a welcome basket. He counts the numbers off. He's clearly doing the time difference between home. Mm-hmm. He calls home. He uses an iPhone, which is great because this is Apple TV.
Apple notoriously doesn't allow characters in movies, like if they're a bad guy, to use an Apple phone or an Apple product. Yeah, it's kind of like a known Apple thing. So if you ever see like a bad guy in a movie, they're using an Android.
It would be interesting to watch this episode again and see if any of the people in it don't use an iPhone.
They've got a bunch of like...
that would determine who's the bad guy in the show.
Ooh, yeah. It's like a meta reference and stuff. But I remember reading about... I'm sure there's more to it, and then the internet can tell me I'm wrong, but I know I have read that at some point, that because Apple's obviously very tight-knit about their brand.
If Tom's wrong, please leave messages in the MySpace comments. He calls home, talks to his son. You get the sense that they're close, and then he's talking to his wife, and you get kind of this... It's almost like a gut punch at the end of the episode, where he's talking with her. He makes a comment that any of us would make. He's like, hey, it's beautiful out here. You and the boy should come out and visit. And then you can't hear the conversation on the other line, which I think is a great effect, too. And Jason Sudeikis does it so well, is she clearly, like... comments that the reason they did this was to have space, and that she doesn't want to visit because they want to have space. So now it's revealed.
Well, and I was just going to say, I think what makes this scene so powerful too is, and again, I think the mark of a good show is to not be afraid of silence. Like the time where he's sitting on the phone,
that's true. Yeah.
Just not saying anything. And to your point, you're not hearing her perspective, what she's saying, because you don't know exactly the dichotomy of that relationship, but being able to allow that scene to breathe and those silences between the conversations, I think, is so powerful and makes that scene more emotionally resonating.
And he does this thing where he, like, there's sometimes he's almost, like, starting to, like, and, like, as a man, you, like, want to interrupt that conversation and be like, no, but, like, and so it's revealed, like, him and his wife are clearly going through something. That's why he's alone out here, and that's part of the trip. And then the episode ends with him. One of the running gags is, hey, you've got to stay awake so that the jet lag doesn't... Because
jet lag's a running joke?
Yeah, during the
episode. Oh, I thought you meant like throughout the series. He's constantly jet lagged.
Yeah, it's a full season of soccer, and he's jet lagged the whole time because his body doesn't work like normal people. But no, during the episode, like in their office, Ted is falling asleep, and Beard clicks in his ears, and he's like, "Got to stay up, coach." I like that they call each other coach. It's just great.
I was going to mention that earlier. It is odd to like, because I know. He calls him Coach Beard, but like Coach Beard does not call him Lasso. He calls him just Coach.
He calls him Coach.
His name is Coach.
My thought being it's a term of respect because he's the head coach.
Yeah.
Here's what's funny is when your child is of age to be on sports teams, you will be a dad that helps on that sports team. So there will be like 6 or 7 dads and moms that are helping coach pitch, and you'll all be in the field. You'll be moving kids around. You won't do the due diligence to learn any other parent's name, so you will just call each other coach. So there will be 9 parents trying to wrangle 7-year-olds into a batting order, and when you need to refer to another parent, you'll be like, "Hey, coach," even though you've played with this team for, I don't know, months on end. So that's what I think about when they do that. I'm speaking from my own life. I think we were with the same group of parents for like 3 baseball sessions.
Not a name.
No one learned a name. So at the very most, I'd be like, "Hey, that's so-and-so's dad." And you're like, "We've known each other for a year now."
Okay, so we've made the point that Ted Lasso gets names immediately. Like Nathan, the driver. Yep. Yet you have been with this team for 3 seasons and you still don't know these coaches' names. So I struggle to believe that you have hit Lasso level 6, if that is the case.
I know the coaches' names.
You know the coaches' names now? I thought the whole thing was you were just calling everybody coach because you don't know their names.
Oh, on the baseball team. In real life.
Yes.
I know their names. They don't know my name.
Oh.
I'm so-and-so's dad. I'm my son's dad or my daughter's dad. And I made a point. I will make a point of like saying their name just to see.
If
like
they know yours. Yep.
No, they don't. But I'm not going to embarrass them. That's fine. It's important to me to know people's names.
Wear a name tag one day.
I apparently did not. We quit baseball. It's way too hot to play baseball, and baseball can be boring. Something we didn't hit. Our favorite parts of the.
Did you wrap before you do that? Did you wrap up the episode? Because we kind of transgressed into Beard and him. Is that kind of how it ends? Does him on the phone call, or does?
Well, it ends with him, Ted Lasso, lying down, staring at the ceiling, and go, "Crap! Now I can't sleep."
Okay,
and the thought being because of the jet lag, he can't sleep, or that he slept earlier. Mm-hmm. Favorite part of the episode, and that's how it's ended. Wow, great episode. I enjoyed the whole thing. There's little gags in there that sometimes I don't find quite funny. I know you love certain things. Mm-hmm. One of the questions I have is, does Ted Lasso believe in ghosts?
Oh, yeah, they have the reference to what used to be on a hospital grounds or something, to the players.
So they're doing a tour of the club. Rebecca is showing him the pictures on the wall, and she makes a comment. At some point, the field was a hospital during the war, which we're assuming is World War II.
No, wait. What was the war in Last Kingdom? What did Uhtred? That wasn't World War II. I'm assuming that's the war she's referring to.
Oh, you think it's? Do you think it's the battle when England became a nation?
Could be.
We
don't know. There were hospitals back then.
I'm not even going to embarrass myself right now. We're assuming World War II. He says something like, "Ooh, spooky," and she says, "Oh, Ted, do you believe in ghosts?" And his line is, "Yes, but more importantly, I hope they believe in themselves." Which is just a weird line. I've watched the show a lot of times, and I can't tell if he is being sincere, which I think he is because he's Ted Lasso.
My assumption is like maybe he's just constantly optimistic and constantly upbeat, but maybe his impression is like he wants the ghosts to believe in themselves because in order to pass on to the afterlife, you have to believe in yourself. Something. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too far into it.
Sounds like you've been doing some auditing at the Church of Lasso.
Listen, ghosts need to believe in themselves. Slimer didn't believe in himself.
All right.
Clearly.
So
Gozar the Gozerian did not believe in himself.
Clearly an unanswerable question that we will be working on through the series is whether or not he believes in ghosts. Hopefully we'll get that answer. My favorite part of the episode is any time that Ted Lasso and Coach Beard are interacting, just like the inside jokes, the callbacks, that relationship in itself. As I said, it's like it's really well written, and they give these clues that these guys are close, they like each other. Mm-hmm. They're doing something crazy by going to coach a sport they don't know in another country where it's very important. How many teams are in the Premier League?
It's a good question. I should know that. I want to say...
Is it 10?
No, there's more than 10. They play 38 games in a season, so 16 teams.
Okay. And so it's Richmond, right? FC Richmond?
Wait, I'm
FC?
just now realizing that math doesn't work out. There's 16 teams. So in the Premier League, you play each team twice. You play once at home. Yeah. You play once at home, once away.
Even when you're wrong, buddy. Yes, and?
Yes, and. See, we're like an improv group.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, I don't know math. But there's a handful of teams for sure.
Okay. But FC Richmond would be part of that, right?
Yes. They're taking a place of another team. Because I think I've looked ahead just to see where some of the training ground, or I think in future episodes they'll actually show them play games in a stadium. I think they use footage from Crystal Palace's stadium, which I'm blanking on the name now. We'll have it for future episodes. But yeah, so I'm assuming they're taking the place of kind of Crystal Palace in that Premier League universe, if you will.
Okay. As a soccer fan, do you feel like it helps watching this show being a soccer fan? Were there jokes that you feel like you got that a normal not a normal person, like, because I think soccer is pretty popular globally.
Yes.
But like, do you feel like being a soccer fan helped in terms of the comedy or like enjoying the show a little bit more as opposed to fifth grade Julian who doesn't remember much about soccer?
No, I do. I think it's fun, like, especially when it comes like the terminology and that kind of thing, and especially too where Ted Lasso is that he is the audience, because the audience is coming into this.
Sure.
Probably a lot
No,
of
good point.
Americans that are they're into comedy, they're into Jason Sudeikis, but they don't really know soccer. So he's kind of a stand-in for the audience. But yeah, somebody like me, I grew up playing competitive soccer. I still watch it a lot now. You know, I've got the local soccer team here that I support. It is
We're
fun.
gonna have to blur that out so people don't know where we live.
It is fun, and I think some of those jokes probably land a little bit harder, and that's why I'm kind of interested. Again, I know the show is not soccer-centric, but I know they're going to throw in some different soccer things.
Sure.
And I've watched, there's a lot of cool like documentaries and stuff out there where they do something, obviously not similar to this show, but they kind of like a Hard Knock style. So like what they kind of do here in the States, where HBO will follow a team during spring training. They've done that for like Liverpool. I think Tottenham actually is another team they've done that for. And you get to see some of the behind the scenes and how some of these players and stuff interact in the clubhouse and locker rooms. So it is very interesting. And obviously this is just, very comical and satirical of the whole kind of concept. But that's certainly one of the things that drew me to the show is that extra soccer pull.
Sure. No, that's great. And I would sum this up by saying this show is probably the best show ever made.
Would you really rank it? I mean, I know we're doing this pod because, again, it's a fun show. It's a good show. Again, I think as this pilot episode, it's one of the better pilots I've seen in a long time, establishing so much in such a small time, since it's only a half-hour runtime. But
I don't know that it is I would say it's probably in my top 10.
Okay.
And what I would say is it is a show that has stuck with me more just from once again, just a life perspective of, being positive, treating people how they want to be treated. There's some forgiveness stuff that we get into as the episode goes that I think like showing people grace and being forgiving even of people that have wronged you is like such an important like thing to grasp. And like I feel like so many things are like vengeance focused. Like you get vengeance, you're gonna feel better, or like that's the goal. And like there's things that happen during this show that just shows like the power of being forgiving and like trying to find the best in people and really like trying to help people grow like in an unselfish way. I think it's very easy to take offense to things, like feel slighted. But like sometimes you like interact with a person who like does that to you, and you've got to kind of like sit back and be like, do they know better? Like, where are they coming from? Like, how can I almost help them like see what they're doing? Because I think some people go through life and they just don't know how they're perceived. For sure. Like they've got these kind of blinders on and they're not self-aware enough. And so I'm going on a bit of a diatribe, but like it is a show that has stuck with me in that way. Yeah,
and I think, Ted Lasso, it's kind of a throwaway line, but when they talk about like how many countries does this country have, they say 4, and then, Ted Lasso kind of says it's kind of what we have in America. Again,
that's right. Yeah.
Not to get like political and stuff. I mean, we're in an environment like where we've had, we've been dealing with COVID over the last year and a half, and people have been so isolated and by themselves, and the political landscape and everything. So many people don't ever want to see seemingly the good in people,
right?
And not understanding that humanity is worth having conversation and stuff about, as opposed to just throwing everybody under the bus. And I think this show does a good job of helping deliver and explain that, and I'm certainly looking forward to the rest of the series. Sure. I am too. We have talked 3 times longer than the episode itself, which is pretty incredible. But those of you that have listened to us, those of you that have watched, we appreciate it. We're planning on going through the whole first season, talking it through like this. If you have questions or anything, we'll figure out a way to make that available
through our MySpace page.
We'll flash our phone numbers down here.
And then what we really would like is any corrections, anything we did wrong.
Listen, we don't need your internet mail. We know we're not perfect. Just
No,
listen to it, enjoy it. You
no,
want
no.
it?
Yes, yeah, we want all of it. Like
You can feel it, man.
I will give you Tom's Twitter handle. We'd love to hear from you. We love being corrected. I have a family that loves to correct me. I just can't get enough. So, from Julian and
Tom,
we appreciate it. And please join us, I guess, next time for episode 2, which is called
Into the Darkness. I don't know what it's called.
I don't either. That's why I threw it to you.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Quick pause.
Man, I was hoping to do no editing.
Yeah, so you editing. I'm sorry. Ugh. Listen, you're lucky I'm here.
I am lucky you're here. I'm glad you're here. I'm so glad you're here.
Would you mark it at least? Do 59:30.
59:30.
The worst editing is going to be
Tom
that
blows
video.
nose.
The worst editing is going to be that video.
Yeah, I know.
But maybe it's better. Like maybe we do need cuts in that video so you don't have one video size that's that massive.
Yeah, that's fair. That would probably make it easier to move from one place to the other.
And do really bad cuts. So it's like me like this, and then me immediately cutting to this.
I mean, how else am I going to do it?
I don't know. In
Star
5,
fade do.
4, 3, 2,
And 5.